This is your place for all things Grand Rapids Griffins and all things Toledo Walleye. This is the Hockeytown West Podcast with your host, Brandon Cook and Nick Harrington.
And welcome back to the Hockeytown West Podcast, your source for everything Grand Rapids Griffins and Toledo Walleye hockey. I am one of your hosts, Brandon.
I'm Nick, and that's Phil.
And I'm Travis.
Oh, I love having Phil here. Well, boys, what a weekend. We got to all hang out with each other finally again up in Traverse City for Red Wings training camp. But before we get there, it was a crappy weekend before we even got there. Travis, your truck broke down on the way to Grand Rapids from Toledo. That was a lot of fun. Right before you have a vacation coming up. The timing is wonderful.
Yeah, that was something, wasn't
it? Worst case scenario, but with all the driving back and forth from GR to Toledo, this group here is done. It was bound to happen to one of us. So sorry, it was you.
I will say I'm starting to feel like you because I drove up Saturday. Kel said to come get me yesterday, and now I'm coming back up for the home opener on the 11th. And I got to come up Wednesday, hopefully, to get my truck. So it's just like I can just set my car on autopilot, and it might just get me there.
If we figure out teleportation between Toledo and Grand Rapids over this next year, it would save us a lot of time.
I would be at Toledo every time, too.
Yeah, right. Midway through the game, let's go check on the walleye. Yeah, your truck breaks down, and then on the way to Traverse City, my windshield gets broken somehow by some magical rock floating in the air. We still haven't figured out that one yet, so that was fun. And Nick got through the weekend just fine, maybe a little tired.
I got to talk to Ken Daniels. That was cool.
Yeah. See, we struggled, and he got to talk to Ken Daniels, so yay for us.
Left us taking bullets.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like, Trav. I thought someone was coming after you there, man. That was a headshot lined up perfect. It was terrifying.
I mean, usually it's me, so I'm glad. I'm not glad it's you guys, but
I was gonna say you're glad it's us.
No, usually it's me.
I was more terrified for you on your drive home since two of us had already dealt with car issues. I'm like, it's his turn on the way home, but you just took twice as long to get home than we did.
So. We did stop for dinner. So that's,
okay.
Yeah.
Oh, we just straight through. I didn't feed Travis. So
sorry about that, buddy. He gets
all right.
that.
It worked. No, it worked out fine. We got food on the way home.
Yeah. I'm glad your wife was able to come up and get you, or get back at least at a reasonable time before you had to work today and all that fun stuff. But yeah, that was a crazy weekend. We had a lot of fun up there. But before we jump into the actual recap of training camp, the red and white game, and all that, the Griffins went ahead and did something right before training camp that we got to talk about, and that was they released new home and away jerseys for this coming season. So, what, Nick?
I must have missed that with the Most Seider signing at the same time.
That was terrible timing. I felt so bad for the admin on that one. 2:00. Boom. And the worst part is, like, they had teased that morning that it was at 2:00. So the Wings knew. Like, everybody knew, but I'm sure everything was all scheduled posts. Everything went out. We know how that works on the social media side, but that was unfortunate timing. It was very much overshadowed by Mo Seider re-signing.
Good for him. I'm so happy.
Yeah. I am happy for that Mo re-signed too. But yeah, Griffin's new jerseys. We'll pop them up on screen here. They got the new white jersey, the new black jersey. But boys, what are your thoughts on them? I'm going to go to Trav first.
Is it red or orange? That was my initial, like, when I seen the actual post, I was like, why does it look orange? Like, this doesn't look good at all, at least for the black one. And then you showed me the other pictures, and they do look a lot better than my initial take was. I really like the white one. I'm just a sucker for the white jerseys. I think white should be your primary home jersey anyways, but it's a topic for a different time. I like the gold implement, especially around the numbers. I think that'll look real sharp. The red pops where it needs to pop. I thought they did a really good job with that. I wish that the neckline, like I was explaining to you, Brandon, when I was up there, that the neckline on the black jersey wasn't red because it drowns out so much red there. But all in all, I think it's cool. They still have their own identity enough to themselves that they're not like becoming their parents. So that's cool.
Yeah, and the Shield jersey is still a third. I saw some people freaking out, wondering if those were not coming back. They are still a third jersey that'll be there this season. I don't think they'll ever get rid of those, or the fan base might riot. But Nick, your thoughts on the new ones?
So last year, no, 2 years ago, I bought the black one, and then I was trying to alternate last year and buy the white one, and they were sold out all year long. They were sold out of the white ones. Like you had to get like an extra large or some crazy size, or I'd say crazy size, but for me, I'm a medium, so you had to get something like what was left over from seasons past. So I was like, at this point, they're probably updating the colors. They're probably updating the jerseys for next year. So I was excited to see what was coming out. And then we got a little sneak preview of them a few weeks back, which is why the banner, if you're watching on YouTube, the banner got updated a few weeks ago because we had saw a little sneak preview. So I think the video and the photos did not do it justice. I'll be honest, because when I saw them in person, they looked a lot better than what we saw online and through the video. Like just the lighting, I don't know if the lighting affected it, because you're right, Travis. Like it looks orange. The colors look orange with the Josiah Didier one, and Shines looks a little orange too, a little bit with the red and gold. But I also think with those colors, they just clash. Like I don't know. I just don't. Me personally, I'm not a big fan of them. I don't like the red and the gold together. It kind of clashes, and then there's just a lot of white space too with the black or on the black ones. So I'm not a big fan of them. Maybe they'll grow on me as the season goes on. Maybe seeing them on the players on the ice, that against other teams, I might fall in love with them. But right now, I'm I don't.
Crazy take. No, I think they're fantastic, and here's why. When I look at the old jersey, I don't know where the gray came from. The gray bits in it, I don't understand the gray stripe. There's no gray in the logo. There's none at all. There's a big old gold griffin there. Tie it all together with the jersey. And I love that gold accent. The red shoulders might be too much red for me. But I like Travis said the neckline thing when he pointed that out. I was like, yeah, if they would have broken that up there, that might look even better. I'm a huge fan of them. And like Travis said, staying to an identity. They have their own. We didn't just go Red Wings mock-ups with the Griffin in the center. Good. Like, we like our third jersey with the shield. I like that. But we didn't just go straight Red Wings clone like half the other teams in the AHL did. I always respect an AHL team more when their jersey is their own. Like, I look at Chicago. I look at Milwaukee. Teams like that keep their own identity through all of those partnerships with the NHL. So I'm a big fan of them. I've already ordered one. And I'm excited to get it. So good change for this year. I think the whole kit on the ice together is going to look really, really clean once you see it all together in the right lighting. Because you were right, those photos, like no dig at the photographer that took the photos, but the lighting just wasn't right for that situation. I know what they were trying to do, but it just didn't work. So I'm excited. A change is nice, a nice little refresh. And if you used your brain when you were shopping for jerseys last year, you knew this was coming. It was pretty obvious. You couldn't get your hands on any jersey at the end of the season. Even the black ones were basically sold out. And that's where you kind of knew, yep, a refresh is coming. So still want them to sell the third as a replica jersey, though. They did not do that. We can buy the white jersey and the black jersey as a replica. You still can't buy the shield jersey as a replica. And I know if they sold them, they'd make so much money.
Yeah, we got ours at the equipment sale, so that's how we ended up getting our shield ones. But did you mock up the old logo on the new jerseys? Or
I tried to. So I tried to do it, but I wanted to invert a couple of the colors to a red to match it, because the old logo has some green or blue in it, and that really doesn't make sense on the new one. It made sense on the reverse retro they did because the wings colors that they put in there. But I'm working on something. I'll eventually maybe be able to pop something out that looks decent enough. But I would like to see what the old logo with some red in there instead of the blue looks like on that jersey. I think that would look really cool too.
You know what would be interesting is to do like a red. I know you guys just dogged on this, but doing the Griffins logo with just a solid color on the background. I don't know. Like the wings have their solid red, and then they've got the winged wheel. I wonder what that would look like.
I mean, our logo is on a solid colored background. It's either white or black.
We've got all these stripes. Is the problem that I don't like with this jersey, is that there's too many stripes, too many colors. That's what I don't like with the new ones.
There's a lot of it does kind of get a little busy when they added the gold to the other stripes. There's like 4 stripes right there.
But you got rid of the gray. So you removed a color and added a color.
I think it's the red on the white is just it's too big. The stripe for that is too big.
I feel like we could debate this for a full episode, so we'll move on. No, I like change. I'm excited. I'm excited to see it on the ice. That's what I want to see. We've seen it in person, which does give us a little bit of a benefit, but I do want to see it on ice. And God, let me tell you, that was the hardest secret to keep for the last 4 weeks. Even though we did drop us. That's true. Even though we did drop a subtle hint, like Nick said, when we updated the banner with the gold line in there, we've had that for about a month now and just had to do something different. But yeah, excited to see this whole thing on the ice, ready to get the season started. But we did get to go watch hockey be played in person this weekend, which made me so happy, even though it was a little chilly in the building. Boys, training camp was a lot of fun. This was my first red and white game since, back in the day when they did them at Van Andel, and that was kind of part of your season ticket package way earlier in the affiliation. So I kind of forgot what it was like there in person with this. Obviously, we watched them on TV, but it's a heck of a lot more fun to get up there and see it. They look so fast when you're sitting that close in this small rink like that. Travis and I just kept saying the whole time because we were sitting next to each other, and they just looked so fast out there. But let's talk about this. We'll kind of go through the game as the game formatted itself. They started off with 1 period, 25 minutes, 5-on-5 action. And right out the gate, DeBrincat comes in and just lights up Husso with a beautiful goal. He walks Jeff Petrie. It was the cat in midseason form, right? We're like, all right, this is awesome. That's yeah. I
mean, he did split Evanson and Petrie, but Petrie was a lot closer to the play than Evanson was. So.
Yeah. But that was we thought right there, okay, we knew the red team looked stacked on paper. So they're gonna come out and dominate and they're gonna light this up. And then it went silent for quite a while. Solid defense being played. I don't remember who scored that first white goal. Who was that again?
Some kid on the Griffins.
Yeah, the guy we've been hyping up for the past season and a half now almost. Amadeus Lombardi. Oh, the goal. He looked incredible out there. That was the only scoring action in the first full 5-on-5 action there. We did see a penalty get called in that. Rasmussen took a tripping call. But I just want to talk about some guys that stood out in that 5-on-5 action there. And one, let's start off with him. Ammo. He looked fantastic. He looked great in the prospect games, but looked even better on the ice in this 5-on-5 action here. He looks faster. He looks bigger. He looks huge, actually. I know he's still small, but he's big. He's built. He took the Carter Mazer diet seriously this offseason. But I want to get your guys' perspective on him, what you saw there. Nick, what were you thinking of Ammo in that 5-on-5 action?
So I was able to watch him on Saturday as well. And just throughout this, time in Traverse City that he's had, because he was with the prospect games. I don't want to call them tournament because there's only the 2 of them now. And this weekend, his confidence is he just looks so confident out there, and he looks aggressive. He's taking his shots, he's taking his looks, he's getting the puck on the net. And yeah, the goal, I watched it real time, it looked fantastic. And then I hear oh, he kind of fumbled the puck and it went in. I don't care. The puck went in the net. That's the biggest thing there. He just scored on a NHL goalie. I think it was Lyon or Talbot.
Talbot.
Oh, was Talbot at that point? My bad.
I'm glad I split the difference there. So, I mean, that's still huge for the kid's confidence. I mean, he just went through and did that. I don't know. He was also holding people off throughout. There was a couple times he got pushed down by some of the NHL players. But for me to come in and watch this tournament and watch our guys, I was impressed to see, I wanted to see how they were going to match up with NHLers. I know Ammo is not NHL ready. He's not making the team this year. He's not going to make the Red Wings. He may or may not make it next year, but he's going to be in the talks. I'm excited to see what he's going to do this year. He looks faster. He looks stronger. He looks way more confident, and he looks ready to go. If anything, I think he took the biggest step out of everybody. You could see there's a difference between him last year and then him this year. There's a huge jump, I feel. And so it's going to make it interesting of where does he slot in the lineup now going into the season. It's hard because of the people that he's compared against as well with Nate and Marco. But and Nate, Marco, and Sheldon Dries or Joe Snively. I'm trying to remember who's the other guy that plays
You're
center.
talking about playing center in GR?
Yeah,
You Dries.
So it's interesting to see where he's going to line up in that lineup with those other three
It will
guys.
be. I mean, we've teased potential winger action too, which I think would be a lot of fun. But he looked great, and like you said, the confidence is just there with him. But do I think he took the biggest step? I could argue it, but I think Trav and I are going to just talk for the next 15 minutes here about Marco Kasper.
Oh, I was going to put another guy out. But
that's fine. We'll get to the other guy. But Marco Kasper, guys, holy smokes, did this kid take a couple steps this offseason? He is skating faster. He's also bigger. You can tell he put on some size this offseason. It's like every Red Wings younger player put on some good size this offseason. Like whatever diet they're on, I'm interested because I need to lose some and gain the others, But at the
I was
same
going to
time,
ask, what did we gain on the offseason? Do we want to go through those numbers?
No, we don't need to talk about that. But dude, Marco felt like he just took over play when he was out there on the ice. He looked incredible. I mean, Travis and I just kept talking to each other about just how good he looked. His motor was nonstop and he was flying out there. I think him and Ammo might need to race. I need to see who's actually faster because Marco might be pushing a case here. But Trav, what were your thoughts on watching Kasper? Because obviously we got to see him a ton in person in Grand Rapids last year, but just your initial thoughts seeing him in this game.
Yeah, I mean, he really stood out to me. I thought, who he was playing with is interesting because they had him and Nate together. So you kind of got the two guys that are kind of being like, okay, these are the two future centers on the Red Wings, whether that be second and third, or so on and so forth. But Marco, man, all the reports came out. He looked different this year, and he looked different. Like it's just a true statement. Really, like you said, Brandon, all over the puck, flying around out there. His compete was crazy. His motor was crazy. His skating, flying around. Just, I thought like we were sitting next to each other, like you're saying, it's just like literally, dude, Marco is buzzing. Marco. It's like, this is insane. I don't know that anybody, I think the hype around Nate got so crazy that everybody forgot about Marco. And now all of a sudden Marco's like, hey, I'm still here and I'm going to make an impact. And I am. So I think it was good. He played super confident. He was always seemed to be in the right place at the right time. His positioning was really well. So it's going to be a fun preseason. I'm very excited to see how much he plays because, again, like, I've said before, not a bad idea to even start on the wing if he were to make the team. Not to say that he is going to, but, I mean, obviously we don't get to make that decision, but, man, he looked really good. And I told my dad, too, I was like, Marco was like my honestly best player on the ice, if you ask me.
Yeah, I mean, those situations he was with Nate, too. Marco was on the wing. And he was dangerous on the wing out there. And this is all that play we saw from him. And there was none of that in front of the net stirring things up because it's your own teammates. You're not going to go out there and be that pest at that level. He was still throwing the body and still getting in people's kitchen. But at the same time, you add that element back in there too. He's going to be a dominant force in Grand Rapids. And like you said, Trav, he was like a standout player that day. I think he stood out more than anybody else on the ice to me. That it does include Nate Danielson. It's not a dig at Nate. I thought Nate had a great game out there, but Marco, I think, just took it one more notch above him because of the compete level that he brought to the table. And God, if he's still in Grand Rapids, because I think Marco's maybe the only one that might be pushing the conversation here if we're just judging it based off this. Obviously, we have preseason coming up, but Marco should be generating a lot of conversation around himself right now where the Wings go, this is interesting. Everyone's talking Nate should have made the team last year, Here's Marco Kasper that tore it up in the AHL last year, looks ready. Like, he just looks ready. If the call came tomorrow, he could answer that call and be ready to go, is where I kind of take away for him in this training camp observation that we have here. But enough, because like I said, this could be 15 minutes of Marco Kasper hype right here, and the kid deserves it. Looked fantastic. Another thing that we saw in the 5-on-5 was a line that we'll probably see here in Grand Rapids. It was the Sheldon Dries, Joe Snively, and Carter Mazer line. And holy smokes, they looked great together. The chemistry look like they've been playing together a full year. I loved everything I saw from it. Everyone was at the right place, the right time. They just look really good. Nick, what were your thoughts on that line?
Dries was fantastic. I like when I saw this line because they played it on Saturday as well, and I'm just like, okay, how does this fit? Like, I'm looking back at our lineups and how we kind of match people, and it's like, okay, is this our first line then? Is this like, and then who goes to the second? So it's like got me thinking other ways. But I mean, the checking from you've got the back checking, you've got the forechecking from Mazer and from Dries. Snively, I mean, these are two vets. Snively and Dries are two vets that were around the league. I told everybody a couple weeks ago, I'm very excited about these two. I just couldn't believe that they clicked so fast, those two guys together. And listening to some others today, like I guess we were after Snively quite a bit the last couple, or Dries, or either Snively or Dries. Lalone's been after for a while, so he's been wanting to get him over here. He's been on the radar for Lalone, so it'll be interesting to see too, even like a first call up like kind of situation, because we kind of looked at Sarnik's replacement was going to be Joe Snively. So it's one of those things. Like I'm excited to see what this looks like. I'm wondering if like this is our first line penalty kill. Maybe that goes that route, because they played well together there. So. I don't know. There's just so many options now. Like
we have options. It's weird, right? We're not used to this. Yeah, the chemistry's there. Like this, they have me so excited for what we're gonna see in GR. We knew Dries and Snively were good additions. I didn't know they were that good of additions. In holy smokes, did they exceed my expectations just in that small snippet? Again, everything's small sample size. We can only judge it based off this preseason, and everything else is gonna be where the real action comes from. But they have me excited. Like every time they're on the ice, I'm just like, yep, that's a Grand Rapids line. This is great. Even a lot of the defensive pairings they were playing with too were Grand Rapids. So, you had Didier and Wallander out there a couple times together, and that same line being in the forward line. So it was very interesting to see it all play out together. They looked great. And like you said, PK or even power play, we saw those guys match up on a power play line together as well. And you threw in Elmer Soderblom with that as well. And it was a lot of fun. It was just pure puck dominance. Now, some guys might have gotten a little too flashy trying to put on a show, and the puck might have hopped a few times, because by the time they had a power play in that, there was a lot of snow on the ice. I remember looking at Travis going, every time they move their stick blade on the ice, they're shoveling at this point. So, puck bounces are going to happen. But that power play looked incredible. The power play overall looked so much better when it came to the Grand Rapids guys. That had me excited. I know, Nick, you felt the same way, because last year was painful.
It was agonizing. I think every episode it was either we talked about the refs or we talked about the power play and how bad it was. So they spent a lot of time on Saturday with practice with the power play and penalty kill, and you saw a lot of it translate over on Sunday too. So
yeah,
definitely focus.
And now look, we're a Griffins and Walleye and prospects podcast, right? We kind of talk more at that angle. We can talk about the Lucas Raymonds, Dylan Larkins, Patrick Kane. Being to see Patrick Kane up that close and watching his magic is just incredible. But we got to talk about the Griffins and Walleye side of things more. We can elaborate more on the Red Wings guys down the road, but I want to talk about Gabriel Seider, because boy, did he stand out over these guys that we've signed recently that were kind of like, who is this? Kid's good. Kid's really good, and he's big. He's very big. Him and Elmer on a line together, I think, could be a lot of fun. And I know we talked about that in our Too Early to Predict Lines episode that we did. But he impressed me. Trav, what did you see from him that impressed you?
The Redwood line could be in GR this year. That's kind of just what you could see. No, he played real well. Another guy that, coming out of college, right? Not fully sure what you're going to expect, but was not scared to make his impression known. Played physical, given that it is an inter-squad game. I thought, his skill showed at times too. He's just a solid player, and I think that's just going to continue to grow as he gets more live reps against AHL and NHL players. And now going into the preseason, it'll be interesting to see how much he plays. I think you probably see him on like the third, fourth line, kind of in that depth role to begin, but sky's the limit.
Yeah, I would agree with that take 100%. Nick, did you see anything from Seider that you liked a lot?
Nothing that stood out particularly. I know my notes on him was that he was really good at faceoffs, and I mean the Red Wings won 100% of their faceoffs this weekend, so I thought that was important.
Good God.
I've been holding on to that one for a while.
I can tell.
Going back, it was Sheldon Drives that Pat's been chasing, or not Pat. Geez, Derek's been chasing. Too many Green Bay guys that Derek's been chasing since way back when.
Makes sense. It does make sense. Couple other standouts from the 5-on-5 matchup, and it was one of them's got to be talked about because you brought up physicality. And Hunter Johannes and Elmer Soderblom going at each other that entire time just gave me joy. You could tell Hunter's instructions were go piss off Elmer as much as you possibly can, because we know pissed off Elmer just dominates play. And as soon as Hunter got under his skin, it worked. Elmer looked incredible. All that, we'll get to him in a second, but Hunter was so much fun to watch out there. I know, Nick, you had to be loving what you were seeing from the physical side and the skill side on him.
Yeah, because I was sitting right there, so I was able to see like them battling, and it was a couple times like Hunter and Elmer got tied up, and they got tangled up, and Elmer went down. And I asked you at the intermission, I was like, "Did he trip? Was it bad skating? Like, what was going on there?" And he's like, "You're like, no, he pushed him down." I was like, "Oh." So I was like, this is going to be an interesting locker room in the, going into the season, because those two guys are going to be on the same team. But I am very stoked for Hunter Johannes because he came in last year at the very end of the season. We signed him from North Dakota, and it took him a little bit to get used to, one, for us to get used to him, and him to get used to us. And he comes out in this training camp and he just crushed it. Like the prospect games, he crushed it. He played very well. He was getting a lot of buzz. And then this game too, he was getting a lot of buzz. On Saturday, I watched him. It was during practice. He had an upper 90 shot right to the post, and line was in net. And I was just like, yes. And I'm like, my bad. But I'm just like stoked for the kid because like he's finally getting his chance. Like he's getting his chance. He's getting the eyes on him. People are excited, and then he's getting noticed. So I mean, he's going to be a good option too. I don't know where he's going to probably fill in on the lineup yet. We might have to do another lineup episode next week to kind of see where we're at. So, but I'm excited like to see the shooting from him, because last year he was just out there just bullying people. And so to add a little bit of that to it as well is good for him.
Yeah, I liked what I saw. And Travis, I mean, you haven't got to really see this kid in action yet. You know, we joked he's a kid. He got through college. He's 26 years old, but does look like a man amongst boys out there. That's always been our joke around here. But what was it like actually getting to see him finally like show you what he's got?
I love this guy. This is my dude. He is like a freight train on wheels that can also play at a very decent level. And I am going to watch this dude all year because like he played a style that is just so much. It's like a blend of old school, but still enough skill to keep him in the game. Like, guy's a human wrecking ball out there. It felt like at times, not saying he was running guys or blowing up people. I mean, him and Elmer, like you said, just getting into it. I honestly thought they were about to fight. Like, I was like, is this about to happen right now? But thankfully it didn't. Last thing you need is guys getting hurt doing that kind of stuff in a preseason training camp game. But I really like this guy. Like he is going to be a guy that Grand Rapids fans, I think, really gravitate to just for the style of play. He plays that heavy game. Could be a real nice addition for as far as a power forward role. And like, I don't know. It's just like Detroit does not have a guy like that right now. Like they only have 47 contracts. Now, granted, he's 26, but like, man, if he comes out and like, I'm not saying that he would earn himself a contract, but like, I almost wouldn't be shocked just because of the way he plays. His motor doesn't stop either. And that's the kind of thing I think guys love to see.
Yeah, I mean, he could find his way into some sort of contract, like a first call-up type deal. He reminds me a lot of a Dylan McElrath or a Luke Witowski on the physical side, but has an offensive upside I don't think we've seen unlocked yet because he was still trying to figure out his way in the pro game. And now that he had some games under his belt, a full offseason to prepare, and then going through everything with training camp, the prospect games, and preseason, I think we're going to see something here where he puts in 10, 15 goals this season and brings a physical side that he has. I love him. I mean, I already do. I think he's a great player, but he does that and shows us that. That's something special there. And he's defensively responsible and still able to play that physical role. And also doesn't take a lot of penalties playing that physical role. He does it really well. He's just a smart kid, good hockey IQ. And like you said, that motor is non-stop. Him against other teams, other teams are going to hate him. It's going to be like when we were, Toledo fans here watching Chaz Redicop go against us and hating everything. We're like, in the back of our mind, we're just happy that kid's on our team now. It's the same with Hunter. We're just really happy we don't have to play against him. But the Red Wings might have found something here, honestly.
Waddy is going to have a field day with this guy.
Oh my God. He's got to, I can't wait to talk to him again and be like, so Hunter, where's he at here? What do you think? And he's going to probably gush about him for a good 10 minutes. And as he should. But
he is signed to the Griffins for this year.
Yes.
So he does have a contract, because I saw a couple things through Twitter. I was just like, this guy's with us. He's been with us for a little bit. He's sticking with us for this year. So
I think Trav's hinting at like a Wings ELC type situation, like a Wings contract, but in Grand Rapids. Like, I think that, am I wrong, Trav? Is that what you're kind of hinting at?
Yeah. I mean, like, I don't know. Listen, it's a long shot idea, and I probably sound crazy for even speculating on it. But I mean, it's just like that is a role that they don't have. Now, granted, he's 26, so that's where you're kind of like, okay, no, but at the same time, it's like, man, that play style, I think it resonates. Like, you want to be tough to play against. That's the kind of guy you need to have in the locker room. Like, he just he gave them no space out there, and it didn't matter who he was out there against. Like, he was just on the go. He could have been out there against Larkin, Kane, DeBrincat, Raymond. Didn't matter. He was out there making a name for himself, and I think he stood out.
Yeah, 100% agree. Yep, it'll be interesting to watch his season unfold, and I'm super excited. Before we move into the next guys, I think it's time for hit an ad break. So first, send it over to the sponsors, and when we come back, dive into the rest of the guys and the rest of the thoughts in the tournament. So Nick, go read the ad.
TD, Toddy, taking it to the house, whatever you call a touchdown, they matter more at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Ready to place your first NFL bet? Try betting on something simple like a player to score a touchdown. I know I'm going to be watching the Detroit Lions. I hope you guys are too. Currently, the Lions are over 52.5 points and a negative 112 for the bets this weekend. Ready to do a touchdown dance of your own? Score big with DraftKings Sportsbook, the #1 place to bet touchdowns. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app and use code THPN. That's code THPN for new customers to get $250 in bonus bets when you bet just $5 and get 1 month of NFL Plus Premium only at DraftKings. The crown is yours. Problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467369. In Connecticut, help available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Will Casino and Resort in Kansas, 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. cdkng.com/football for eligibility and deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. What's something you'd love to learn? As an adult, do you make time to learn new things as often as you like, or was that lost in childhood? Kids are always learning and growing, but as adults, sometimes we lose that curiosity. What's something you'd like to learn? Gardening, a new language, or maybe how to finally beat your best friend in bowling? Therapy can help you reconnect with your sense of wonder, because your back-to-school era can come at any age. Therapy can help address anxiety or fear of speaking another language, or help you learn your own personal learning strategy. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with licensed therapists and switch therapists at any time for no additional charge. Rediscover your curiosity with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/THPN today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/THPN.
And welcome back. All right. So we're still talking about the 5-on-5 action. We really haven't talked about special teams and stuff like that yet, but we'll get there. But guys that I still want to talk about when it came to that 5-on-5 play, and one's got to be Sebastian Kosa, which we're going to kind of skip ahead and talk about one other part of this tournament that they did as well. But Kosa in the 5-on-5 action there comes in and looks fantastic. One thing that stuck out to me, and I told you guys, was that his movements are so much more crisp. His movement side to side last season at the very beginning was very squirrely. He'd kind of get all over the place. And in this game, his positioning was perfect and his movement was like, that's what he worked on in the offseason, you can tell. Also, somehow looks bigger. I don't understand, again, how everyone just got bigger. But
I got bigger.
Kos was facing a lineup on that red team that was just full of NHL talent and stood tall through all of it, literally. You come to the 4-on-4 and 3-on-3, takes, I don't know how many shots off of his face, which we've got to talk about, because if you're hitting Kosa in the head, you're shooting too high. Kid's a giant. Luckily, he was okay after both of those. I'm sure he was a little dazed and confused after the one that went dead center in the mask. And then he faces the gauntlet in the shootout. When you've got to take on Patrick Kane, Dylan Larkin, Lucas Raymond, Nate Danielson, MBN.
To break
Who
it.
else am I? To break. Sorry, Kat.
Yeah.
To break it, like he faced the worst lineup that he could potentially face as a goaltender, and looked great. Except, obviously Kane made him look a little silly, but that's just what Patrick Kane does. But boys, what did you think of Sebastian Kosa? Let's go to Travis first.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Day 1 Walleye Sebastian Kosa versus year 2 Griffins Sebastian Kosa. Not even the same person or player. Like the calmness, the angles, the not swimming around in the crease, I guess you would call it skating for a goaltender. Just it's night and day different. And like I think I told you, Brandon, we were sitting there. I was like, them playing the super long game with Sebastian Kosa is going to pay off so well. Like he was the raw goaltender between him and Wallstead, but had this freakishly unbelievable athletic ability for somebody that is 6'6", and you'd see flashes of it. I think you're going to see it on a much more consistent basis going forward. I mean, you guys probably seen it last year, but like when it was in Toledo, it was just a flash here, a flash there, so on and so forth. Last year, you'd see it more. This year, I think you're going to see it consistently. And he's just so calm. He is so calm. You could tell he's grown up in front of everybody's eyes. Like you've seen it year 1 in Toledo, the start of the year to the end of the year. That back half of the year, he was unbelievable. Last year for the Griffins, was it about Christmas time? He started that long run for the 18-game point streak. Another carried it into the playoffs. He was the starter in the playoffs. He's taking these steps to get better. And I just think sky's the limit with this guy. Like super athletic, super good. And now he's got the calmness. I don't think anything phases him anymore. That's the thing. Like you seen like the Patrick Kane goal and he's like, okay, that's Patrick Kane. Like, what am I like? I'm sure he's pissed he got scored on, but ultimately, he's a competitor. He's probably super happy he stopped Raymond. That probably boosted his confidence a little bit. But it's just good to see him playing so well. I think he was one of the better goaltenders on the ice. It's just, I love this. I've loved that pick since day 1. You can look over my right shoulder or my left shoulder and you can see that. So I think this kid's going to be there. It's just a matter of him getting there and everybody being patient.
Yeah, we've preached patience since we started this show with Sebastian Kosa. And it's not like he couldn't step into an NHL net and perform. Like, we know he could, but we want him to have the full tool set when he gets there. We don't need a 7-goal game against like Wallstead experience his first NHL game. Like, we want Kosa to go in there his first NHL game, just like he did in his first AHL game, and steal the show. Like, he beat Milwaukee in his first game with that random call-up that he had and looked great. And then obviously the next game wasn't great. But he always bounces back, and that's what we loved about him last year. And once he hit that consistent streak, it was just some incredible performances over and over again. And I feel like we're going to start the season with that Sebastian Kosa that's going to continue to build and get to be a better Sebastian Kosa. I personally cannot wait to see him in some preseason games against NHL teams and see who they throw at him and see what he has to go against there, because watching him play against NHL players is a hell of a lot of fun. And I think we can all agree, like you said, he stopped Raymond. That was cool. But I think the favorite goal that he might have had that he stopped was Marco Kasper in that shootout, because those two just love competing against each other. And you could see they were jawing at each other right after that. But Nick, thoughts on Kosa? Anything you want to add that we haven't said already?
I have a lot, and let's see if I can remember all of them as I go. So getting to camp on Saturday, just like walking in and seeing the goalies, like they're gigantic. They're all of them. Like you could see it on paper that they're all over six. Is it 6'3", Trav?
Most of them are all over at least 6'3" or 6'4". It's disgusting.
Landon Miller is some gigantic man for being still in juniors. Like him, Gage. I don't know how old Landon Miller is, but Gage Alexander, also a huge dude. Kosa, then you had Talbot and Lyon, and like who's still pretty tall too.
Lyon's the shortest out of all of
is.
them. He looks like a child out there.
And he still was like from where maybe our angles are a little different because we were way up at the top of the mezzanine at the practice when they were walking out. But it was just like these guys are gigantic. It's just crazy. So sides aside, Coast looked like, I want to say, more technical this weekend, like more dialed in. Like you couldn't tell the difference between him, Talbot, and Huso and Campbell out there. Like I kept having to look and see like whose number is that? Who's the net over there? Because I can't tell the difference because he looks like an NHL goalie. Like he looked so good. And when in the beginning I was telling you, I was like, Ammo looked the best, I thought, and then there was another guy. I thought my other guy was Sebastian Kosa. Like just out there, just dialed in, just his skating, his positioning was the other thing that was just like perfect. I felt the one thing I have concern about is his mask because Saturday, like it fell off. He left practice, skated off without like his gloves, without his stick, and without his mask, or he was carrying his mask. And then it happened again during the game, the red-white game. And so if he could get that figured out, like that's just one less thing that he has to worry about. Cause I know like equipment, I would be kind of like, I want to say like just distracted, like more worried about it, I guess, of anything. So if he get that going, I'm glad he didn't duck like Reimer. You know, he takes those face shots. So that is one thing. At least he's like making the save. So that's a good thing there. But yeah, I thought Coast played really well. I'm excited for this season. He's probably going to play a couple preseason games. I want to see him in those preseason games and how he stacks up against the NHL talent. Like the preseason games, like it's out there. Go have fun. You know where you're going to be next year. You're going to be here in Grand Rapids. Like you're going to make that case next year or the year after. I don't know the contract situations with their goalies, but I mean he's building the right way and he focused on the right things this year in the offseason to be where he's at. So I think this is the year you see him like take that step, that next level again from where he already finished at the second half of last season, which was incredible stats we pulled from like the Christmas. I can't remember where they were at now, but I remember you digging into the numbers there, Brandon.
Yeah, there were some crazy numbers. I don't have them in front of you right now, but it was historic. It was ridiculous. I loved every part of it. And yeah, his mask, I think he's still wearing last year's mask. I'm assuming he probably has a new one for this year that hasn't debuted yet. He doesn't want to get it scuffed up if guys are shooting at his face. So I'm sure we'll see something new before or on opening night. Because I'm sorry, even though we didn't get to see Jack Campbell play at the red and white game, Sebastian Kosa is opening night starter. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I mean, Jack Campbell is the backup goaltender, which is mine. I would ask me like 3 years ago if I would have said that. I wouldn't have said that, but here we are.
Well, it could be Huso.
No. You know what? You brought that up, and I said we're not talking about Red Wings guys. We're trying to focus on the prospects, but Hoos looks healthy. He looks good, and it's making the other part of that conversation with goaltenders very interesting to see where guys line up, because if Hoos stays healthy exactly how he looks right now, he's starting. You said Kosa was one of the best looking goalies out there. I'd say right with him is Huso, and then Lyon and Talbot were right below that. Like
I think Lyon was low key real good too, though.
I think Hoos was better.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't say it was like miles better. Remember the save Lyon made sliding across the crease? Like,
no, I agree.
I think all of them they all showed points, but I mean, it's just a matter of who's gonna in preseason play take the reins and run.
Yeah. If the season started tomorrow, I'd put Hoos a little bit ahead of him, but like we talked about, after the game with some people, we had talked about we talked about after the game with some folks outside the arena. And we are like, when all the who stuff happened last year, everyone immediately was like, he sucks.
Yeah.
He doesn't. He's going through I can't imagine going through that injury that's just reoccurring over and over again for almost a whole season and missing that much time. Plus, hey, here's a new child on top of that. Have fun. Like, there's so much mentally going on, and we know goalies are just a big mental game overall. So, yeah, he had a rough year. He's going to come back this year, and he's going to make this goalie conversation an absolutely wild one, because then you're talking, all right, is it Lyon or Talbot? Talbot's got term. What are we doing here? I don't know. I don't know. This is wild to me. And we still don't know who the goalies are in Toledo.
I mean, I said on Rundown, Husso's still the number one goalie, and everybody laughed at me. And I was like, he's still the number one goalie till somebody takes it from him. Like, I know he had injuries, but he is still the starter. And everybody disagreed with me. I was like, all right, we'll see. We'll see it. We'll see. First game of the season.
Like, I know Talbot's got term, but with what we saw from Lyon last year, when he's not having to carry the workload, like, how do you not make him the backup, right? Like, if you can actually split the time evenly between a healthy Husso and an Alex Lyon, I'm so much more comfortable with our goaltender situation, especially with hopefully a beefed up defense in front of him when you're talking about Simon Edmondson being out there. Yes, Jeff Petrie still exists, but things in front of the goaltenders in Detroit should be better this year on even the offense side and the defensive side. So if you can split it evenly between those two, I'm really happy with that. But then Cam Talbot comes in, and I don't know where that fits in here, because I'll be honest, he didn't impress me in the red and white game much at all.
We roll with 3. That's what I think we do this year. Roll with 3. What's the worst that's going to happen? They all suck. There's no way.
No, I doubt it. I don't know. Trav, give me your thoughts here.
I think Ville Husso is going to get a steady dose of preseason play just to see how healthy he really is, and where he's at, right? I mean, you can almost look at it as from the end of his first season through basically all of last year, he's hurt. Injuries happen, and you feel bad for the guy and you want him to bounce back. And from what we seen yesterday, he appears to be healthy and bounced back well. They gave up a draft pick to get him. So they gave up capital. He's on an expiring deal. Lyon's on an expiring deal. Talbot has this year and next year. And then you got goalie of the future, Kosa, probably after this year, knocking on the door. So the next year is going to be super interesting. And Campbell expires this year too. So it's going to be real interesting. Do they make a trade? Do they trade one of these 3? And then if a goalie gets hurt, there's your Jack Campbell insurance. He can come up and play backup. And then you have Kosa with probably either a version of Bednar or Gylander that would have to come up to GR. That's if they moved one of the 3 and a goalie got hurt. This league has shown sometimes you need 3, 4, 5, 7 if you're the Devils goaltenders. So it can happen. I mean, it can happen. You don't, and Malone said a bunch, they were extremely healthy relatively last year outside of losing Larkin. They didn't have a whole lot of big time injuries throughout that. Guys missed extended periods of time. I think it'll sort itself out. I part of me sees one gone. Part of me sees them just rolling with it. It's 1 year. If a guy gets hurt up front, you call a guy up. That's just what it's going to be. If it's short term, yeah, you probably see Sheldon Dries or, a guy like that. If it's okay, this guy's going to be out term, that's where you want to see a Marco Kasper. If it's a forward defenseman, they probably aren't going to have to use a call up because they got 8 defensemen. Goaltenders, they've already got 3. So this goaltending thing is going to be very interesting to see how they're playing. I believe it's 8 preseason games. I think they're playing the max this year.
Yep.
I'll be at the game Wednesday, so it'll be very interesting to see who plays in Chicago. I'm excited to see this goalie carousel and who starts, how many they keep.
Yeah, I mean, I bet you for preseason, you said 8 games. We talked about the excitement of maybe seeing Sebastian Kosa in there. I bet you Sebastian Kosa plays 3 periods of preseason hockey. Yeah. Let's be real. Like you said, the Hoos experiment has to be tested during preseason. We've got to see what's going on there, make sure the injuries healed up and all that. and then it's figuring out the other guys. So we'll see Coast a little bit, which is cool. And I think that comes with the calmness for him. Like Nick said, he knows where he's going to be next year, go out there and have fun. And I think that's exactly what he's doing. And when it comes to game time in Grand Rapids, that's where his game face is going to go on. And we're really going to see how much he's improved over the offseason already off the improvement he had last season. So it's going to be interesting. The goalie conversation is going to dominate a lot of stuff because, like we said, we don't even know who's playing in Toledo. We can assume, but we don't know. And if it's a combination of Bednar and Gylander, from what we've seen from the prospect games and the practices and everything, Toledo is in good hands. It's Gylander is really good, better than I thought, and he's really big. It's really funny to see how this play out. Nick, I wish I could have been there with you on Saturday, Nick, just to see the tower of goaltenders that we had. We got to see a quick glimpse of them when they were doing some drills over in the other rink during the first little intermission there. But yeah, it's gonna be fun to watch. But
they're gigantic. That's all I can say is they're huge men. I don't know. They're just
Nick's
gigantic.
like this when he goes up to him.
Yeah, and I'm not that short. Like I'm not a short guy. I'm shorter than you two, but yeah, I was just like, holy crap.
Yeah. But to move on from goalies, because like we said, that could dominate a lot of conversation here. Another guy who I thought took some extra steps this offseason. We talked a little bit about his line earlier, we should say, but Carter Mazur looked really good. I was really impressed with what I was seeing out there. There was a lot of compete in him. He looks so much bigger and stronger than last year, especially when he's trying to protect the puck. I saw a lot of that. You could tell the guys on the other side were pushing him as far as they could push him to try to steal it from him. But I thought he was just right place, right time, playing a smart game. And again, like we said, looked really good with Dries and I'm blanking. Thank you. Dries and Snively. Like I'm excited to see what he did this offseason, and I'm excited to see it on the ice. I don't think he's making Detroit opening night, but he's gonna push that call-up conversation if there's injury, and if he gets called up, he's gonna play really well at that level. I think he's done a lot of the right things. Nick, what did you see from Mazur?
So for me, I think I fall with a lot of the other fans of like, I want to see points, I want to see goals, I want to see like that kind of production, and it's not like going to the boards. Like he was doing that, he was winning the board battles, he was keeping people off him, he's protecting the puck. Like that stuff goes unnoticed a lot of times, especially with the fans. For me, like as well, like I want to see goals, I want to see noise, I want to see sizzle and excitement. So like it's hard for me with him because like he is in the right places at the right times, and you saw that a lot last year with Bergie on his line as he was cleaning up pucks and he was getting goals that were out with him and Sarnik. So for me, it's really hard for me to judge Carter Mazur's game because he does all the other small things that builds his game, like Marco did last year in the first half of the season. Like he was doing all the right things. Then the points came later, and Mazur's points come, but he does a lot more of the little things, I think. I don't think he's that pure goal scorer, like Bergie was, so that's where I have real trouble with Mazur, is like grading him and like watching his game, because he does the smaller things really well, and he's quieter against the top guys. So it's not like he's making mistakes either, though. So that's also a good thing, like it's like, oh man, he just got walked there or whatever, or he got pushed, or he wasn't strong enough on the puck. So he's doing those things. He's looking good on that side. So that's what I have for Mazur. I know it's a boring take, but
it's not a wrong take. I think just like, how we talked about the hype train of Nate Danielson maybe shadowing Marco Kasper, and Marco being like, hey, everyone, I'm still here. Mazur kind of lived in the shadow of Bergie, especially being on the same line last year. Bergie stole the show. This is going to be the year where Mazur can step up and show, hey, this is what I've got, especially if he's paired up with those two veterans. I think he's going to be able to steal the show and really show like what he can do. But again, I don't think any of us have ever said Carter Mazur first line, second line NHLer. I think third, fourth liner is exactly where we want to see him, that grind line, third line type situation. And if he can deliver that, I'm comfortable. If he outpaces or outpoints Joe Veleno's time in the AHL, I'm happy. Much success. So I don't know. That's just my quick take on him. Do you have anything you want to add to that, Travis?
Yeah. So I'm looking at it right now. Talking about a player that was 3rd round draft pick. Played college. He's often been compared to Tyler Bertuzzi, and I hate that so much.
He does too.
I don't like it for him. He's a different player. The one thing that really stood out to me is Patrick Kane talked about his release this week. I don't know if you guys heard that snippet.
Yep.
Patrick Kane calling it a sneaky release is just a very exciting thing. And honestly, his playmaking, I think, even got better over the summer. That one touch pass, I believe it was to Dries, or was that Snively?
Snively, you're right.
That one touch pass from the below the circle on the power play was beautiful. What?
I feel like we're gonna mix these two guys up all season, because one, they're brand new to the team, and it's just they play so well together. So I already thought about it at the beginning of this episode. I'm like, we're gonna mix these guys up all the time. Apologies to these guys. We'll see them later.
Yep.
I just thought that was really awesome. Made a really nice play. I mean, granted, it was a 5-on-4, but to make the pass, he put it right on his tape, buried it. Playmaking's there. This is a guy for me that, I kind of touched on. If you get an injury up front, say Detroit only carries 12. If you get an injury up front to where a guy's only going to be out a week and they're only going to miss 2 or 3 games, okay, then you look at calling up Dries or Snively. If you're talking about a guy that's going to miss time, this is the guy that I think could be getting the call up. Just for the simple fact being, it's time to start promoting kids. Okay. It's time for these kids to start pushing the issue a little bit. And I think he's in that group, right? Mazer, Danielson, Casper. If you need a long-term solution, especially a wing, I would rather see a younger player going up. And I think he's earned that up to this point. I thought he's been really good.
So you want to burn a 9 games?
If he's going to be up for say a guy's going to miss 4 to 6 weeks, who you calling up? You going to call up Dries? You going to call up Snively?
Yeah, the 2-way contracts. You're not going to burn time.
Why wouldn't you burn time? Nick, it's time to start getting these kids in the lineup.
It's time to start burning time.
It is time to start getting these kids in the lineup, dude. You can't be calling up Austin Zarnik players forever. It's time to start putting kids in the lineup.
Because you think about it this way too. When you look at Grand Rapids and the way we're structured right now, you have to call up Dries and Snively. Who on the veteran side of your offense just left in GR? You can't call Ammo, Casper, and Mazer veterans. They're still kids. You've got a weird balance in GR right now where it is time to start calling up the kids and let these veterans handle your Ryklowskis, your Bantles, your Seegers. That's what they're here for. This makes sense to me the way Travis is putting it out there. And if you're burning a 9 game, you're burning a 9 game. But also, who's to say that you're not calling up Mazer for 8 and then sending him back and, hey, here's Marco for 8? You could do that. It's time to give them some experience, though. One thing that we hated the most last year was Johansson did not get experience. He deserved it. Why not? Let's change gears there. Let's make that actually a thing where these guys get that chance. Because now we don't know what Albert's looking like this year. We don't know where he's going to fit in because he hasn't seen that time. If Albert had 9 games last year, we can confidently say he's going to pass Mata. He's going to pass Gustafson. He's going to pass Petrie either way. But, that's what we're missing right now. And if we can get those with your Marco Caspers, and I mean, hell, Nate's going to push that at some point this season too, right? We know that's a fact. Let's start playing the kids. I agree with the take, Draft.
This league is getting younger. Every year, the average age goes down. Does not go up, it goes down. Younger players are starting to make impacts at a much more... Look at Dallas last year. Stankoven, Wyatt Johnson.
Oh,
all these kids were coming up through Dallas, through Texas. This is just this is the progression. You got to start putting these kids out here. And it's do you want to be throwing out kids or vets? And I've said it last year, with the Petrie stuff occasionally. I know I've said to you guys, I'd rather have a young player out there learning. So think of it this way, Nick. You get to say you're to January. Okay. You're in January, and Detroit's 10 points out of the playoffs. Who you calling up, Sheldon Dries?
If we're 10 points out in January, there's still plenty of season to get it there.
You're still going to call up Dries.
Yeah. So
I just think it's time for the kids, man.
I like Brandon's take on the Albert Johansson thing because now we're in a situation where he has to play this year. Like he's not waiver exempt. He has to play it, or he's sitting in the press box, which is terrible, right? So I understand that take. I like that take, but I think I like the 8-game like rotation too, of like to not burn the time. But
why do you want to save these kids time? That's what I want to know.
Because I'm playing devil's advocate on this too. So the other reason, because I know there's fans going to be listening and they're going to be like, well, wait, what's the other side of this too? So I want to be able to have both takes on there. So my other question though is, who is not going to be waiver exempt next year? Like, who do we need to give those 8-9 games to go up? But if we could have them get more time and more development in Grand Rapids, like if you move Sheldon or Joe Snively up, that creates a spot for first line center left wing. Like that's where you're putting the next guy, the next kid to move up, right? Like we're already stacked with centers. You've got Ammo, Marco, you have Nate Danielson. Now these guys are getting those extra ice time out there against people that they should be getting ice time against.
I think people need to also stop viewing though Ammo and Casper and all of them, honestly, all of the centers that are rookies in Grand Rapids, they need to stop viewing them as only centers. Because the potential for them to play wing over center and be that guy that, hey, I played center and can rotate in when one guy gets kicked from the faceoff, that's going to be key, I think. I don't think when Ammo makes the NHL, I'll say when, not if, when that kid makes it, I don't think it's as a center.
And he played wing with Nate during special teams too. So Nate.
I think we'll see him play wing often this year. I think you're going to see Ammo move up the lineup to push that third and second line time by playing wing.
I'd rather have him get the time, get the experience.
Yeah, but to go back, I still think it makes sense it's time to play these kids. Like we've got to see what they're about. I need to see Marco Casper in NHL action. I want to see Carter Mazer in NHL action. I don't need to see Joe Snively or Sheldon Dries play NHL games because I know what they're about. They're going to go up there and produce just like Zarnik did. Yep. They're going to be the perfect plugs for that when we need them to be. But like Trav said, 10 points out in January. Hell yeah, I'm calling up a kid.
Okay, 100%. Another point here. Was it Dries that's 30?
I think
or
so.
Is it Snively? Yeah. One of them's 30. Mazer's 22. Why does burning 9 games why does that scare you? You're getting them to that second contract sooner. It's not like he's going to probably go up and score 40 goals. It's like, I don't
40 goals in 9 games would be crazy.
This is the thing where like this fan base is like, well, we want this, but we also want the kids. You have to pick a direction of what you want to see. Like it's
because we lived through the years of piss poor managed contracts that if you had these guys non-waiver exempt, we'd be terrified. But when you look at the Wings contracts, so many guys are expiring after this year or next year. It's okay to have these kids come up and play these games and not be waiver exempt, because when you start to get these sample sizes, we're going to start to understand, is Marco Casper a piece of the future? I think yes, but we don't know until we see it. We've got to know, because we should be knocking on that playoff door this year. If the Wings miss this year, am I sad? I'm still not sad. I just want to see competitive hockey like we saw last year. But the year after that, that's when we start talking. We should be knocking on that door. We should be making the conversation to be Stanley Cup contenders in the next 4 to 5 years. We need to know what these kids are about, because at that point, you're looking at the end of Larkin's deal, the end of Cat's deal. Like, we're getting to that time where we should be knocking on that door. So, yeah, start burning these ELCs. Who gives a rip? Let's go. Let's have fun.
Go ahead, Nick.
So here's the thing that makes me mad from last year's watching. Is like everybody wanted Simon to come up. Simon was not ready until like at least halfway through last season.
Correct.
In Grand Rapids. And nobody, like, if you watched him, you would have saw it and you would have understood it. And like the fans were like, well, this guy needs to be up here just based off of his age and this contract and how long he's been in the system. It's like, No, you need to be able to watch how he develops and watch how he plays because he was not ready. He looks good now. He looks fantastic. Fergie going up last year at the end, like people like just destroyed him because of the turnovers that he had when he played against Vegas and he played that little stretch at the end. I was like, he doesn't. Yes, your younger players are going to make mistakes, but you guys don't need to pile on them. That's the problem that I have with the fan side is like, don't pile on him when he's getting his 9 games or whatever. Like, he's a younger guy. He's not going to do everything like your veterans are. So if you want to play safe, you play the veterans and then you ease your younger guys in like when it's time, when it's ready. Like Simon was ready at halfway through.
You're keeping them. You keep blocking them with guys that are going to be gone by the end of the year. I'm not saying you're blocking them. I'm just saying, the organization's blocking them. I'm just saying that the organization's blocking them. Like, eventually the youth movement has got to happen. You have to showcase these kids.
Here's what I'll say to kind of close this part out. The part that's hard for us to... Yes, Nick? I'll give you one more piece of the argument if you want it, or I'll close it.
I love this.
So... if we bring up let's get crazy, right? Let's just bring up all the guys, all the new guys, and we miss the playoffs.
That's injury nightmare.
Yeah, how pissed is everybody going to be if we bring up everybody?
I'm not pissed if we miss the playoffs.
No, but I'm just saying, like, the biggest thing we want to do is make the playoffs, right? As an organization, we want to make the playoffs. We got to fill butts and seats, right? Be able to make money.
I don't think Eiserman's ever said it's playoffs or bust this year.
No.
He specifically said it is not playoffs or bust this year.
He's trying to lower the expectations, but the fan base wants to be there. We've not been in the playoffs for 8+ years.
So here's where I'll have my piece to close it out then, because it's the right place to add this. Is the part for us when we talk about this stuff in any show that talks about this, we're going to think from the perspective of what the fan base says, because unfortunately we have to live on social media to put content out there to continue to update things, and things happen at a rapid pace, and we see all these opinions, right? And players see them too, and they just laugh at them. I know they have group chats where they share tweets and they just laugh at people's opinions. Steve Yzerman, probably the same freaking thing. He's sitting there going, yeah, right, sure, Those opinions don't matter. The fans' concerns of the 9 games doesn't matter. It's what Steve Yzerman and all of them think is best for this organization moving forward. That's going to matter. Are we all going to agree with it? No. If we all agreed with it, we wouldn't have a show because everyone would have the same thoughts and opinions, right? That's what makes this stuff fun. But at the same time, the fans' perspective is probably this much of Steve Yzerman and everyone else's thought process. Their minds are what they're seeing on ice, what they know about hockey, and they know a hell of a lot more than all 3 of us do. We'll say that.
Just a little bit.
Just a little bit, right? But they know the pieces of the puzzle they're putting together, and I'm sure podcasts and shows in the past for Tampa Bay were going, it's time for the same stuff that we're saying right now. And then look at what Tampa Bay went on to do. It's just patience. Patience. But there also is a point where we got to go, it's time to see these guys. And if we miss the playoffs, we miss the playoffs. Who cares? I'd rather miss the playoffs for the next 3 years and all of a sudden turn into a Stanley Cup champion the year after that. That's the goal. That's what matters. That cup is what matters. And until we're starting to guarantee that we're going to contend for that, I don't care what we do as long as we're on the right steps to get there. That's me personally. And if you're worried about butts and seats in LCA, I wouldn't worry, because even last year when we didn't know what was going to happen, that place was rocking. We're there to have fun. We're there to watch the game of hockey, whether it's a game where we show up where Pittsburgh lights us up, like we unfortunately got to watch at one point in time, or it's a game where you go to the home opener and the building's packed, the fans are fun, the vibes are great. You're going to get that with the Red Wings, whether we suck or not. It's not like we're the Pistons where the rink can't be filled. People are going to show up to watch the Red Wings because they're the freaking Red Wings. And either way, if you're watching a team come in like the Pittsburgh Penguins, you're going to watch Sidney Crosby play. Like, the butts are going to end up in seats in LCA no matter what when it comes to hockey, because this organization's given us enough over the last 20 years to still be happy about. Look at the amount of cups we have still. That's more than some organizations have in their lifetime. But anyways, it's time to start playing the kids. But we talked about one of the kids there who we're going to hopefully see some NHL games out of this year. It is Albert Johansson. Oh my God. we saw a new level of Albert this in this red and white game. He was rolling out there. Like Trav and I kept looking at each other, just going, he is hungry, he is angry, and he is playing with some of the most oomph in his game I've ever seen him play. Trav, what did you see out of Albert? Because again, you didn't get to watch him every game like we did with Grand Rapids last year. But what did you think of Albert's performance in the red and white game?
Second, maybe third best defenseman on the ice, in my opinion.
Yep.
Dude stood out for me the whole game. He was battling all day. Didn't matter who you were. He was all over you, making it tough in his own end. I just thought he stood out, and this is why I want him to see a lot of action this year. And it's probably why Steve Yzerman said the one year when they ended up calling up Simon that, hey, we have Albert Johansson as well. Like, he's no slouch. Like, again, like I'm still coming into the Griffins side of this. You guys seen it more than I did, but to see it firsthand, he better see at least, I'm going to say 50 or 40 games this year. Like, he should be on the ice for that many games.
Like, I understand the love for Ole Mata and what he brings to the table. Albert played better than Ole Mata. Like, that's the name I always hear. Like, well, we'd rather see Mata in the lineup than Albert. No, screw that. Put Albert in. He deserves
Bring in the kids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Literally, yes.
When the kid goes out there and plays that scrimmage like it was a playoff game, he deserves his time out there. He was playing with playoff intensity against his own freaking teammates. Even guys he played against last year. He didn't care who you were on the ice. He was putting you into the boards. He was fighting and winning these board battles and just tying up every offensive player he possibly could in his own end. Like we said, that red team was stacked. He's part of the reason that they didn't get lit up in that 5-on-5 action because he was shutting down everybody. He impressed the hell out of me in this game. Obviously, we were big fans of him last season in Grand Rapids. He took the step from his first season where he was sheltered and took on first and second pairing minutes and having to run a lot of the defense, especially when Simon Edmondson was called up. And he did it well. We knew what Albert had to show us. And now to see what he saw in this red and white game, I don't know. Maybe it's because he played a lot of that action on our side of the rink, Nick. But what did you see in the red and white game from him?
Yeah, it was tough. It was tough for me to be able to watch him because he was on that. I was like 2 rows off the ice, so it was hard for me to be able to see him where my section was. Where you guys were more up at the top?
Yeah, about 7 rows up. Yeah.
So like it was a little bit easier to be able to see everything from your guys' point of view. But he played very well. He was competitive. I mean, he's playing for a job out there. He knows like if he does, hey, do you want to sit in the press box this season or do you want to play? Like he went out there to play. And one thing that I will mention as well, and I don't know if there was strategy behind this or if it was just the way it rolled out, but the guy that they signed, the Red Wings signed to bring it for competition for him was William Lagesson. And he was paired up with Josiah Didier. So I don't know if that's to read into that or if that is it was interesting, I would say. So I mean maybe, he's gonna work his way into the lineup at some point. I'm hoping it's sooner than later. Like we said, let the kids play on this one. I'm a big fan of Albert Johansson. I thought he played very well last season, and I'm excited to see what he does this season. So I'm all for Albert. I hope he gets that spot, to be honest. And he beats out like that Ole Mata. He beats out Justin Holl. He beats out who else? Like I don't know where he goes in the lineup. Maybe he can edge out Jeff Petrie and be partners again with Simon, or you see him maybe he's second line. He replaces Simon, and Simon goes to the top line with Mo. I mean, he throws a couple of those options out there. So I don't know. I'm excited to see what he does. But
Wings fans are begging for that last option there. But maybe, yeah,
if that was an option,
11 and
Albert, 7. Yeah, 11 and 7 works. If Albert playing NHL games means you lose Lagesson to waivers, oh darn.
yeah.
Sorry, Lagesson. Like I'd like him in Grand Rapids. He played very well. He looked like a great fit. He reminded me a lot of what Shimmick brought to the table when we got him in after that Costin trade. I think Lagesson could fill that role 100% in GR, but I think Albert outplayed him. He outplayed Mata. He outplayed Hull. He outplayed Hull by a mile. He outplayed Petrie by a mile. Like we said, second or third best defenseman on the ice in that tournament there. I'm very curious. I think he's going to get a lot of preseason time.
I hope so.
That's I think what we'll see a ton of is Albert in the preseason. And I think if he comes with that intensity, he's going to earn himself a job, and he's going to make it really hard for anybody to say no. I don't know. He's earned the spot in my eyes, but who am I, right?
That's why we're doing this and not running hockey teams.
You're right.
I run a fantasy hockey team.
Oh God. Two more guys we got to talk about. I think it'll be a pretty quick conversation because obviously Nate Danielson, we got to talk about him. He looked good out there. I don't think he blew me away. I think I saw exactly what I expected of Nate. He had some really good flashes of what he can do in the neutral zone, I think, where we talked about him being a really good defensive forward. I am excited to see that when you're talking about what we need to see in Grand Rapids with less high caliber defensemen that we'll have. And we want to see, the forwards kind of play a role in that. He's going to do a really good job. But I still think Casper shined over him in this, but it's not saying that Danielson didn't have a good showing. I think I saw a lot of improvement from the glimpses we saw in the playoffs after his WHL season. Would you agree, Nick?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think he's a lot like I said with Mazur earlier, is like Mazur does all the little things correct. And I think that's the same with Nate. Like I didn't see any like crazy flashy offensive like zones or like plays or dekes or dangles or goals or shots. Like he came in, he played a silent game. But I think maybe he's playing a little safe. I don't know if we're gonna see. Maybe we see that Portland Nate near the end, like the second half of the season. Maybe it's going to take him a little bit of time to adjust to the speed, the strength of the game, and then you see him working his way up to that. So I'm excited because I know the potential is high with him, and there's a lot of buzz, there's a lot of sizzle around him. So I'm excited to see it in person. So that's why I think he's here. I saw a lot of conversations with him with Comper this weekend. So he was hanging around him a lot and trying to gain like some insights on stuff throughout the practices and on Saturday. So that was an interesting thing that I had been able to catch.
Yeah, I agree with you that he's 100% here. I know he's probably going to tear it up in preseason, and the conversation's going to be there, and people are going to be pissed when he doesn't make it. And it is what it is. This year here in Grand Rapids is going to be really good for him, I think. And for him to come in here, I don't want to see Portland Nate second half of the season. I think we need to see that pretty quick. And I think we need to see him dominate for what we're expecting. I'm not looking for like 100 points or anything like that. I'm just looking for production with that solid defensive play that we obviously have seen and what he's very well known for. I don't know. The sample size is so small with the eye test for us, with only a couple games in the playoffs where he was definitely exhausted from the crazy WHL run he had. So seeing what he's going to bring to the table, we know in preseason, again, he's going to probably do really well, and he's going to generate a lot of buzz and conversation. I still 100% believe he's here. I still 100% believe in our roster prediction is probably pretty accurate to where he starts night one. If he's starting at center. Now, if they shift him to wing, that changes everything. But if he's starting center, he's probably starting third line, but he's not going to be there for long, and he's going to make a name for himself very quickly, and he's going to make other AHL teams hate him because he is so darn talented, especially in the defensive side of the puck. He's going to be setting up guys, though, left and right. I think he's going to be that setup guy. I don't think he's going to have 100 goals, but he's going to have a boatload of assists. Unless, Travis, do you disagree?
I wouldn't say that I disagree, but this is where you kind of have to look at this last weekend with a grain of salt, because I think he was kind of the same last year during this point, and he popped in the preseason. So the guys that like were kind of quiet this year, do they pop in the preseason? Like, does Nate go out and have another performance in the preseason like he had last year? That's when he made a run at the roster last year. He's super talented. His two-way game is what is going to be incredible with this guy. I mean, I don't want to throw a comparison that's ungodly out there, but Patrice Bergeron,
I like that.
like Selke level defense, all as well as being offensively gifted. You know, like two-way center. That's what this team needs in the future. I think Nate kind of just development. Do not rush. Let the kid kind of just, again, preach patience, but to a point. Like eventually they're going to jump to the next level. But I think he would benefit from a year in GR. But if he makes Detroit great, then we have an impact. Like somebody has come in and stole a job, and that's what they want to do. So I really think he's a good player. I think it's just the playmaking's there. Defensively, I think is where this kid thrives. Like he really prides himself on his two-way game. And he's shown when he went to Portland, he can play with super skilled players and put points up. So, but I just think like with Detroit, sometimes it's not all about points. It's really not. It's about playing within structure, playing a good two-way game, playing well defensively. And I think he checks all them boxes.
No, that is a good the Bergeron comparison is good. Like that, ideally that's perfect, but you can really see why he's touted as the second line center behind Dylan Larkin. He could fit that role perfectly. And I don't think a full year in GR is going to happen. I think he'll have some glimpses at the NHL level this season, but he's going to spend most of his time here. And I think he's going to dominate, and we're going to see just some incredible play from him this year. I'm really excited to watch his development, but I do think you might see something. But again, I don't want to see him light up the preseason, earn that roster spot, and have another Elmer Soderblom case on our hands where he's got to come back and find his confidence in his game again, because his confidence is really high. His game is really good. I just don't want to see him drift back, because
I got an opinion on that.
Yeah, what you got?
I think he's miles defensively better than what Elmer was when Elmer made the team.
For sure. For sure. 100%.
And that was a huge part of why he came back down. So,
well, I mean, he was offensively touted as a guy who's going to go up there and score goals, and he did right away, and then he went silent. It wasn't even just his defensive play. He was quiet after the first couple of games up there. And, you know, speaking of Elmer, looked really good in the red and white game. I think his skating has improved by miles, and defensively he looked great too, as long as we get him pissed off enough. If the Griffins need me to go down to the locker room and say something mean to him before every game, I will. It'll hurt me because I like the kid, but I'll go be mean to him. Anyways.
He's a nice guy.
Well, I like pissed off Elmer on the ice. He's a freaking wrecking ball out there. We've seen it so many times, but yeah, Nate is going to be a lot of fun to watch in Grand Rapids this year. And I'll repeat that, in Grand Rapids, Red Wings fans. Sorry, he's going to be here.
I have a question. So do you think Nate is going to make it to the Red Wings before Marco then?
If I'm basing it off of what I've seen with my own eyes so far, granted we have a full season of Marco Kasper to compare against, but if I went off of just this weekend alone, Marco Kasper is pushing that question a little more than Nate Danielson so far. I think Marco's compete was just above everybody else almost on the ice. And that's what we need out there. If you're talking if he translates to the NHL the way he's doing right now, and he goes out there and competes like that, God, teams are going to hate him. They're going to absolutely hate him.
Let's not forget too, Marco's played one game in the NHL, and I believe he had a broken kneecap during that game, if I remember.
Yeah, there was that.
And he didn't look out of place at all during that game. So like,
and here's the best thing for Red Wings fans is we're talking about, we have two guys at the AHL that are basically ready to go. Like they could go if we need them to go and be there long term. That's really exciting. It's not is he ready yet? Like they're ready, but this extra development they're going to get here is going to be so helpful in 3 years, 4 years where we're talking playoff runs. That's what we need them to understand, is this development's going to be really key for that future. But yeah, sure, they could be ready to go right now. Awesome. Yeah, that's fun. I remember when we did that in the past, and look where we ended up. Patience, but it'll be a lot of fun. I'm just excited for Grand Rapids. Grand Rapids is going to be a freaking wagon. That's all I know. The last guy that I'm sure will generate not a long conversation between us at all that I want to bring up, because it's the great debate of this year. MBN. Where does he play? Is he going to the SHL? Is he going to the AHL? Is he going to the NHL? I'm going to start off with, he's in Grand Rapids. That's my take. Trav?
Sweden.
Nick?
Oh, this is so tough for me because I said, and I
The
will.
NHL. Just say it.
You can hold me accountable for the things that I say, and I remember saying he's either with Detroit or he's back with Sweden. I didn't think he was going to come here. And listening to Sean Horkoff during the prospects games, he said everything's on the table. I have a feeling he is going to be here at Grand Rapids. And the reason why is because he was on a line with Nate Danielson this weekend. And so I think that's them trying to create some chemistry between the two of them going into the season. Now, if we think Nate's going to be in Detroit next year, then maybe you bring, Nate and then MBN up at the same time. If there's roster cap space contracts can all make for it, I don't know. That's all. It's my wheelhouse. So I think they're both here. I think he's here. That's all I'm gonna say.
I like what you're thinking with that, with the building the chemistry early. I do like that. The thing that tipped me to saying Grand Rapids was that Horkoff said everything was on the table, because I originally had the same thought. It's either Detroit or the SHL. But when Horkoff said that door is open, in that they went through the cuts and didn't just send him straight back to the SHL on the first round of cuts, that was definitely a possibility because the season's underway. He could be over there playing right now. He's going to play preseason games here.
Yeah, he's going to get preseason games. I think we should see a lot of like Marco Kasper and Danielson, MBN. We should see a lot of these guys that are pushing the door, and Mazer pushing the door. They should get a lot of preseason games. I'm hoping that they get a lot of preseason games.
Yeah, but that's what told me the door is not shut for Grand Rapids, is that they didn't just go, he's going back. Like, I think his play on the ice also definitely made me think that he's going to push that door open in Grand Rapids this year. I think he played well. He was quiet, but also at the same time, I don't think he had a ton of opportunity out there. Most of the time, his line was on the ice, which his line was kind of weird through the 5-on-5 stuff, especially. He was kind of all over the place. I just didn't see much from that line, but the defensive line they were up against was probably one of the best for the white team. So I just think, I don't know, man. I like what I see from this kid. I was hoping to see that bomb of a shot, but we didn't get the opportunity to. But at the same time, the skill set's there, and I think he matched up well with a lot of the guys that are already in Grand Rapids, that he's going to push that issue. I think he starts here.
He needs
if
time
he does,
in North America.
I think that's going to be the key. He needs that year where he can, if he needs to, play sheltered minutes in North America, but still go out there and produce while he adjusts. He's going to be one of those guys that he starts off and we sit here going, oh God, what is he doing? But then by December, January, we're like, okay, he's fully adjusted. Now let's see what he's going to do. It's going to be the Mo Seider, the Simon Edmondson, the William Wallander, like all that stuff. All these guys adjusting. Marco Kasper. Like once these guys fully adjust, they take off. I think he's skipped that, needs another year overseas step because he's that good. But Trav, what do you think?
I said Sweden, but I'm kind of jury's out. Like, to be honest, like, I don't know.
Trav's like Toledo.
Don't switch with us because we said.
No, the only reason that I say jury's out, like, I think he wants to play in Sweden. Like, he talked very highly of Skellefteå. So, like, I just think that, like, he was expecting to be there.
It's a good league.
But at the same, and I'm sorry, but Axel Sandin Pellikka with MBN on his left. Yes, please. Like, show me some of them SHL highlights. But no, it would be good. There's arguments for both spots, and there's valid arguments for both spots. It'll be interesting if he's gonna force the issue to play in Grand Rapids. I want to see him in every preseason game. I want to see him play in 8 preseason games. There's no reason to have him over here to not play. That's just my opinion.
I think that's what we'll see, honestly.
I mean, I hope so. That's just my thinking. Why have a guy that you just took in the first round come over here, miss season games to not have him play? I don't. Yeah, that's just where I'm at.
The fact that he's not back there is what's telling me he's gonna be here.
That's very possible.
I understand he likes that league, he likes that team, and he likes being back home. Like, which kid doesn't want to be playing at home, right? But at the same time, sorry, kid, you got drafted by the Red Wings. Their destiny is your destiny's under their control. If they want you in Grand Rapids, you're gonna be in Grand Rapids, and you'll get used to it really quick. And like you said, he needs to play every preseason game. And if he's playing every preseason game with Nate Danielson, oh boy, are we gonna have a lot of fun highlights to post every single preseason game because they're fun together. The chemistry will build quickly with those two. I like what I see. But yeah, I stand with he's going to be in GR, and that's going to add to GR being a wagon. They're a wagon with or without him. You throw him in the mix, good God, this roster is insane. Toledo's a wagon. GR's a wagon. So for us and the affiliates in the organization, we're in for some fun times here. Detroit will be good too, but yeah, Grand Rapids and Toledo are going to be a lot of fun to watch.
How funny would it be to just see him and Hawkins on the same ice talking, shooting a puck?
Oh my God. The release that those two have would be, oh, Jesus Christ. No.
All right, on to the next.
Well, that's actually all I really wanted to touch on that stood out to me that I had to make sure was in this episode. But I know you guys have a couple extras you want to add. And we knew this episode would be longer. We said it when we walked out of the arena in Traverse City that this was going to be a long recording. Who did you guys want to make sure that we talked about in this episode?
Started off soft, Travis.
You're pointing the wrong direction.
No, he's on my right.
Oh.
I'm going to go with the big man, Elmer.
Yeah.
Breakout year incoming, calling it now. I think he's going to have a big year. And like you said, so we need to have that pissed off Elmer activated. Have you guys ever seen the video? It's old, of the guy that played for the Jaguars that would get slapped in the face before every game by the coach?
Yes.
I need Brian Lashoff to slap him in the face before every game and just like get him going, or Dominic Shine to do it. Somebody just go up, slap this big Swede in the face and be like giddy up, boy, let's go. Like, come on, we're going. I think he has a big year. Everybody thinks this is a lost prospect. I don't think so. There's too much skill there. You see flashes of it. He had 17 goals last year and he was sick half the year. So like, guys, this is not a lost prospect by any means. And I think he gets a 20 bomb this year at least.
Oh yeah, I'd put him for 25.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're going to be, I think you're right there, Travis, because also you got to know who's centering his line. The kid, Amadeus Lombardi. He was with him. He was with him this seat, like for a lot of the 5-on-5. So you got a speedier, faster, more aggressive ammo, and you've got Elmer. Like I think that still continues. That chemistry continues, and you're going to see big things out of that line. So
who's on the other side?
Seager.
What about Gattinger?
Well, yeah, that was going to bring my guy up, as Mr. Gattinger was not there this weekend. So
we didn't get to see him.
We didn't
I'm
get to see him.
he's still recovering from his surgery because he was significantly injured in the playoffs and played through it. Freaking warrior. But I'm okay with Seager and Elmer around Lombardi. Like two towers around this kid. Yeah. Yeah. No, like I said earlier, Elmer, one of the things that stood out to me in that game was his skating was so much better. It was no more Bambi on skates. I don't think I can make the joke anymore going forward because his skating is so much better until Hunter Johannes is trying to knock him down. That's a whole different story. But that's a wrecking ball.
That's a grizzly bear coming at you.
Yeah, Elmer looked really good. And like you said, breakout season, I'm here for that. I can see a 25-goal season, and I'm thrilled with that. And Wings fans should be too, because it's just another guy making management go, where do we put him? Where does this fit in? Or what do we get for him?
I believe his contract's up after this year too. So contract year.
That makes sense.
Yep. Big year coming from Elmer. What else you got?
Nick. That was my guy.
One guy that I wanted to bring up was Emmett Finney. Just again, I had him down for the first day notes, is still a guy, like, I don't know if when we recorded last time, when we talked about Emmett Finney, we had to re-record. So I don't know if it made it in or not, but like he's blown me away. He played with the big team the first day of practice. So they split them into, there was 4 different teams. They were 4 different practices. He was practicing with the bigger team. I think he was with team 2 or 3, however you want to maneuver it.
Right.
But he played very well throughout that practice. And at first, like when I saw him last year with Grand Rapids, I was like, this kid looks lost. Like he just does not look like he fits in. I think this guy has a good chance or a bigger role to play with Grand Rapids sooner than later. I don't know. I don't know. He just blew me away. And a lot of guys were talking about him too at practice. And I just think there's more there than what I thought, and that's really what I want to say is like, there's a lot more there. And it's I think he's a 7th round pick. So like, that's a huge steal out of that round to have somebody, they signed him to an ELC, that he's in the organization. Like he could make a run at GR, I think. Like,
so I think we'll see him in GR at the end of the WHL season. It is the whole contract agreement between the CHL and the NHL that is bringing him back to Kamloops. That's why he's going back for sure. So it would not be till the Kamloops season is done, or if he gets, what I'd like to ideally see him do if Kamloops is going to be not a great team, to trade him to a contender like they did with Nate and see what he can do. But yeah, there's some great improvements there. He definitely showed that he's got some stuff, and we're talking about a late draft pick here. So if we're talking potential there, thumbs up for me. I like it.
Lot of potential. A lot of potential. Very strong on the puck. I mean, he was competing out there like he was going to he was making the team kind of thing. So I was very impressed with him.
Good stuff. I like to see that. The last thing I want to call out, because we caught it after the 5-on-5 action was done, a lot of the college guys or younger guys went over to the other rink and they were kind of working out with the goalies a little bit. But there was one other guy that stood out that went to join them, Dom Shine. Like the other kids threw on their practice jerseys and headed over there. I'm sure they were running drills during the next games that we were watching. But Dom Shine went over there too to work with the goalies. Still had the Red Wings sweater on, not the practice one. Just firing pucks at the goalies, having a good time. And you can definitely tell that guy enjoys every moment that he's wearing a Red Wing sweater, and he tries to make the best of it and have the most fun with it. So I just like to see him go in there, put that extra work with the goalies. Campbell was over there. Gylander was over there working out during the games we were watching, because they were not in the rotation of the red and white game, but it was fun to see him go over there and do that. And I like seeing those vets out there from Grand Rapids with the guys. Like, Didier was out there for a little bit and everything else, but yeah, it was fun watching Shiner out there in a Red Wings jersey. The guy I was pounding the table for last year, I was like, screw it, call him up for a couple of games. He's down here producing like mad. What's the worst that'll happen, right?
Shiner. I mean, I appreciate him. He's just so fun to watch. He's in good season form. Like, it took him a little bit getting going last year, so it looks like he's already up to the speed and ready to go for the season. So it'll be interesting to see where he slots and who's with him, just based off of the amount of guys we have this year. So especially all these college signings. So it'll be interesting to see how he integrates in this year.
And then the last thing I'll say is that during the 4-on-4 action, there was a brief moment where William Vollander stood out to me, because he got activated and jumped into the slot there and was doing what he likes to do when he gets up close to the net, shooting the puck and impressing the heck out of us. So I didn't see much defensively from him, which means he didn't make a ton of mistakes that made me go, oh, Wally, what are you doing? But it's always good to see him on the offensive side too, because he does have a ton of skill there. So I'm excited to see what he does this season. And I don't know if he gets anything preseason time, what it looks like, who knows, but just always someone to watch out for, because I think this is going to be a big year in GR for him and Tuomisto as well. I think those two are going to have some big years ahead of them. So it's going to be fun to watch, but I think that covers everyone that we definitely needed to talk about today. This was a long episode, longer than usual.
We didn't even get into 4-on-4, 3-on-3.
They kind of all drifted together at some point. The structure of the episode went out the window, but it generated good conversation between us all, and hopefully you all enjoyed it. Let us know your thoughts and what you saw from camp and the red and white game in the comments. Who are you thinking? Are our takes valid? Are they insane? Let us know. We can take criticism. Trust us, we can take it. Nick and I dealt with it for a lot of years with our personal jobs.
We'll bookmark it and we'll clip it for later.
We're also petty. So with that, thank you everyone for tuning in. We're excited. Preseason's here. It's around the corner. We will be sharing as many highlights and clips on the social media pages that we can during this time, especially of the guys that we'll most likely see here in GR. Obviously, that'll always be our focus there. And we'll have some fun Toledo stuff coming up as well, a couple new interviews, and we've got to start throwing roster predictions together for that team as well. So stay tuned for that. But as always, thank you to the sponsors of the show, Everything Hockey. Head over to everythinghockey.com. Use code WEST to save a few bucks off your order. They still have the Johnny Gaudreau merchandise up and a ton of new stuff as well for the season coming up. Just picked up a new hoodie with the Kraken colors in it. I love that one. I should have worn that, but had to represent the Tigers right now.
Oh,
and of course, our other. What's that?
You wore it.
No, I meant in the episode.
Oh, I was just say you wore it Saturday.
Yeah, I busted that out. It's a good color combination. The Seattle colors are always
It's 1-0
nice in
too.
my eyes. It is 1-0. You're right. And of course, our other sponsors of the show, DraftKings and BetterHelp, and the Hockey Podcast Network for being fantastic hosts to us. But without our Patreon sponsors, the show could not be possible. And our current supporters on that end are
Lori and Alan.
Thank you guys for the support and reminder that it is free for the rest of September, which isn't much time left. So if you're curious what kind of content we'll be putting out there, head over there and check it out while it's still free. But thank you, as always, for the love and support on there. Thank you all for tuning in. We will talk to y'all soon, most likely with another interview and some extra content in there as well. But until then, go Griffins, go Walleye.
Love you. Bye.
Thank you for tuning in to the Hockeytown West Podcast. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at HockeytownWPod and your host, Nick at GR Hockey Guy and Brandon at Brandon GR Hockey.